YouTube family, look here, y'all. We putting it together. I'm talking about that Sunday brunch that I've been making videos about over the last couple of days. Okay, so here we go, right here. The chicken is done. Okay, there's the chicken right there, and as you can see, me and Sanaya kind of dug into it a little bit this morning just to taste it. But y'all can see right here just how fall off the bone that chicken is. And I just kind of let it slow cook all night long. Okay, so this is going to be good. And see the juice right here? I'm going to use that juice from the chicken in the stovetop stuffing. Okay, you know how you know the directions say, you know, I think it's a quarter cup or cup of water or broth, and then the directions say to you know, put some butter, some margarine. Okay, let's see here. Bring 1.5 cups of water. Okay, what I'm going to use is, you know, this juice from the chicken to make the stovetop stuffing. All right, that's going to make it real flavorful, and I make it that way all the time. If I'm making baked chicken and stovetop stuffing, okay, I'm going to use the juice from the chicken. Okay, but look at the other star of the show. Here we go, y'all. Here we go. The pot roast. The pot roast. She is not playing. I want to let y'all see. Look at her. Look at her. She is not playing. Look at the pot roast. Look at the pot roast. The carrots, celery, all of that in there. Okay. Think we ain't gonna eat good on Sunday when we get back? Think we ain't gonna eat good? That's the game plan. Okay. So we got the pot roast done. The chicken is done. When I'm done with this video, I'm gonna make the stovetop stuffing. I'm gonna make the cabbage. I just got a little small head of cabbage, so I'm gonna make this whole cabbage. And then we're gonna get to the yams, those sweet yams. Y'all know that song, don't you? Gonna get to the yams. Or does it say, can I get to them yams, those sweet yams? Yeah, we're gonna get to the yams, y'all. I'm gonna make some sweet potato mash with these yams here. But let's get into this video, because I know y'all have been waiting for chapter 10 of the Blue Bucket Chronicles. But before we start this video, last night, as I was kind of putting the sequence for chapter 10 together, this song popped into my head, and I believe it's pertinent to the story, and you all are about to see in a moment. And the song was by Gerald Levert. Funny. And when I thought about this song last night, as I was, like I say, kind of putting the sequence of chapter 10 together, this song popped into my head. And I listened to it this morning. You know, I listened to it this morning, and I got emotional. I got emotional listening to this song in the words. And I'm gonna play it for you, and I'm gonna do my best to kind of talk over the words a little bit, so I can get this video monetized. But if it don't, I mean, it is what it is. Okay. But let me play a little bit of this for you. I mean, just the first verse of this song. Just kind of, y'all remember this song? Y'all remember this? And like I said, I'm gonna kind of talk over him singing on a day like today. I got out of bed, nothing went my way, trying to find some peace within, but there ain't no rest for the weary man. Y'all, that was something that I was going through. He said everything seems to get him down, and he's just trying to find a smile. And then his phone rings and an angel sings, hello. And then he goes on to say, it's funny you should call today. Y'all remember that song by Gerald Levert? God rest his soul. I'm still trying to hold it together, y'all. So, but y'all are gonna hear why this song played in my head. So let's get to it, y'all. Let's get to chapter 10 of the Blue Bucket Chronicles. And I you know, I played that song, but I hope that it doesn't affect me getting it monetized. Come on, buddy, let's get it going. Let's get it going. The people been waiting on you. All right, I'm gonna head on down and get this video done so I can get these side items to go with the meat. And I got a full day in the shop, and we should be leaving out. Me and SAYNIA should be leaving out this evening, heading to the Greyhound station around 8 o'clock. Okay, so I got a little bit less than 12 hours to get everything I need to get done today done before we head to the Greyhound station heading to Atlantic City. Okay. All right, chapter 10. Like I say, in chapter 9 ended with Sharon letting me know that the issue with my home in the rooming house on the campus of Hampton University, the issues of me on the verge of being evicted was my problem, was my personal problem. And it was. It was. I mean, just taking responsibility. Just taking responsibility for my situation. You know, it did sound cold-hearted. It did sound cold-hearted for someone to say that you feel like you're in a relationship with, and they should care that they should care about the problems that you run into. And with that comment, anybody would probably think, okay, she really don't care about your issues either, you know. And you know, the one thing I have to keep reminding about this story is we were going through a pandemic. I don't think anyone alive has ever lived through a pandemic, a worldwide global pandemic, as we did during the year 2020. Okay, so everything was new, everything was out of the norm. Everybody's lives were affected by that pandemic, and some more than others. So once again, yes, that was my personal problem. She was correct. And Mr. Burns, my landlord, he was right too. When he told me, look, you need to take care of your place first. You need to take care of your home first. You know, and as I think about, okay, we got a guy doing lawn work as I'm trying to do this video. And I don't know if y'all can hear that or hear me. I'm quite sure y'all can hear the blower. Okay, maybe I need to move, because I don't want to have to yell. I don't want to have to yell over the blower. You all know something real quick. I used to work for a brief time. I used to work in the grounds department at Hampton University. I think it was the summer of 2018. Over the summer months when the students, you know, left for the summer, and I was looking for a way to make some extra money, I got a job in the grounds department doing what that brother right there is doing. You know, cutting grass, weed eating, and blowing grass. It just kind of reminded me of it, so I know what that's all about. But in this story, I told you all that I had kind of started a lawn care service during the pandemic. I called my business the Yard Barber. Yeah, I picked up a few customers, but I called myself the Yard Barber. Okay, I'm just going to kind of move over here, but those blowers are just so loud. And hopefully he'll be done soon. Now I hope the traffic behind me doesn't affect this too. But here's the thing. Here's the point I want to make. And that is this. In life, you don't get to choose your cards. Life is going to deal you cards. I'm just fixing my sock. And you got to play them. You got to play the hand that you're dealt. And sometimes you will find yourself in a situation where whether you have to choose to go left or go right. And there's consequences. There's consequences for either direction. If you go left, if you make a decision to go left, okay, there's going to be consequences over there. There could be some benefits over there, but there's going to be some consequences too. If you go right, okay, there's going to be some benefits and there's going to be some consequences. Now, what makes it tough? What makes it tough is when spectators who watch your story, they watch what's going on, and then they judge your decision. They judge your decision. Girl, he should have went left. He should have went left. You see what happened to him? If I would have went right. Girl, you see what happened to him when he went right. Y'all know what I'm saying? Okay, so those were the situations I was in that I didn't expect. I didn't expect that. But some of you all also feel that Sharon was kind of cold-hearted in her response. And I won't necessarily say cold-hearted. Okay? And this is just my opinion on, modern dating. Okay? With men and women. And I can only speak from the standpoint of being a black man and dealing with black women. Okay, so I'm not trying to be no kind of way with this, but that's who I date. I date black women, so I can only speak from my experience with dating and being in relationships with black women. And particularly pleasantly plump black women, okay? All right, so just being more specific. The thing is this. I think there's always been power struggles. There's always been power struggles, okay? And I had to look at the situation objectively. From the standpoint, okay, here's this guy coming into this woman's life. She went and told me that she struggled with maintaining relationships. She's a single mother. And she was used to doing things on her own, working a certain way, doing things a certain way, running her household her way. And then here I come along saying, hey, I'm looking to be your man. I'm looking to come in here and be a leader for you. And, we're gonna live this kind of life and we're gonna do this kind of stuff. And the thing is, just me being responsible for my actions and not realizing it then. I realize it now because, I've grown since then. I've learned a lot since then. That probably wasn't the easiest thing for Sharon to deal with. Y'all get what I'm saying, and I can understand that. But also from the power struggle side of things, as long, and this is my opinion, as long as I had my own place that I could leave and go back to the rooming house, because that was my home. You know, I was living with Sharon because of the pandemic. If it wasn't for the pandemic and the college campus being closed down, I probably would have done things a whole lot different. Like I said, I probably wouldn't have went left. I probably would have went right. You feel what I'm saying? So, but Sharon would often say, I don't know why you holding on to that room in the rooming house. She would say that. You know, so when I came to her and let her know that, hey, Mr. Burns is gonna evict me, she really didn't have no sympathy. She didn't have no sympathy for that situation, because I believe, based on her words, she didn't want me having that rooming house. She didn't want me having that room in the rooming house, because I could always, at any time, say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I'm going back home. I'm going back to my place. And the thing is, now, as I'm saying this, we did have a heated argument one time, and it might have been the situation with the mop, or no, I think it was another situation. I had done something in her house that she didn't want me to do, and she kind of came down on me, kind of hard, kind of harsh. And I said something to the fact, okay, well, I'm going home to my house. How about that? You know, that was something that and as I'm telling this story, that just came to my mind. We had this disagreement, and I went back to my rooming house, and, you know, and I was like, hey, this is where I live. This is my home, you know. But like I said, the pandemic kind of changed the dynamics of that. And when I got in trouble with maintaining my home, my room in the rooming house, like I said, she wasn't sympathetic to that. She wasn't sympathetic to that. You know, so her response was, that's your problem. And the thing is, it was my problem, and she was letting me know, don't expect me to help you. I expect you to continue to make your financial contributions to living in my house like you've been doing, and you need to find a way to maintain your room in the rooming house. And if you can't, then tough titties, you know? So that's what happened, you know? And at this point of the story, I'm reminded of one of my favorite football players, who is the quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson. A few years ago, you know, he had a rough season. You know, everybody expects, you know, with his style of play, with his style of play, you might expect him to have already won a Super Bowl by now. Especially last year. I mean, we had so many weapons last year. We should have won the Super Bowl. At least been in the Super Bowl. But that's another story, y'all. But the point I'm making here is this. A few years ago, when Lamar Jackson was doing interviews, he was wearing a t-shirt that said, "Nobody cares. Work harder." That was a t-shirt that he was wearing in his interviews. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Work harder. Do more. And at that point, I adopted that mindset. Okay, I felt like my back was against the wall, and I adopted a mindset of, okay, work harder, Martin. Nobody cares that it's a pandemic. Nobody cares that you chose to live with Sharon and her daughter. Nobody cares that you had a heart attack. Nobody cares. Get your hustle on. Okay? So that's what I did. But I did employ divine inspiration. You know, sometimes you get in situations where the best way to deal with the situation is to pray. Now some people, you know, they don't really believe in that, but I do. It's a little hot out here, so I'm sitting in some shade. I'm just about done. With this video. I had to have a conversation with my higher power. I had to employ my spirit guides to help me with this situation. I need to figure out a way to work this. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Okay, we're going to kind of change the tone of the conversation to more business. I know, number one, and this is what I learned from my days as a Mary Kay consultant. And I spoke about this in another video a long time ago, but from my days as a Mary Kay consultant, I learned this simple truth. If you have a marketable, consumable product that's good quality, people like it, they buy it, they use it up, and they buy more. Okay? I knew my fragrance oils qualified as that type of product. And although we were going through a pandemic, living through a stay-at-home order, I just needed to find a way to sell more fragrance oils. That was just one way. That was just one way I could change my financial situation. But how was I going to do it? How was I going to do it under the circumstances, under the situations? I did an addendum video. You all might have seen it by now, where I showed in that video Number one, I showed you that I ride on the bus with Ashley's father, Sharon's baby daddy. I ride on the bus with him almost every day, okay? And he usually gets off at the shopping center where I get off at. But anyway, in that video, I showed the moment where I was when my spirit guides instructed me to go to the shopping center that I'm currently working in, Langley Square. Like I said, it's Addendum video, Blue Bucket Addendum. Okay? So check that video out. In that video, I talk about how my spirit guides showed me the shopping center as a lake, as a huge lake. And I was instructed to go fishing in that lake. And that's where things were going to change for me financially. Okay, so watch that video. And the reason I made that video is I wanted to give you all a visual. Okay, so you got it? So I began to put together a strategy, which is going to be in the next Addendum video. I put together a strategy of how I was going to start selling my fragrance oils in that shopping center. Okay, y'all with me? Y'all with me? Okay, great. Here's the last part of chapter 10. Shortly after Sharon let me know that the situation I was dealing with was mine. The problems I was dealing with, those were my problems to deal with. One day I was sitting by myself. I think I might have been ironing some clothes to sell on eBay. And I got a ding on my cell phone, as in a message. I looked down at my phone, and it was LaShonda. I looked down at my phone, and it was LaShonda. I hadn't heard from her in months. But at that moment, I was feeling probably at my lowest. In some ways, feeling levels of despair. You know, in a lot of ways, I felt stuck between a rock and a hard place. And for real, as I think about it, you know, you get to a point where you look at your situation and you say, should I continue to hold on to the dream or face reality? Because a lot of times that's what we do. We have a dream of how we want things to be, of how we want things to turn out. And sometimes you have to get to the point where you have to face the reality. The reality of what's going on. Not what you want it to be, what it is. Y'all feel me? But during that period for me, when things were seeming really, really tough, I got a text message from LaShonda. And it was a simple, hey, how are you doing? Hey, how are you doing? You've been on my mind. And I believe that's why I got a little emotional when I heard that Gerald Levert song. I haven't heard that song in years, but it popped in my mind as I was thinking about this chapter 11. Chapter 10. Chapter 11's next. And in the song he says, you know, he got out of his bed and nothing went his way. And there's no rest for the weary man. And that's exactly how I felt at that point. But in chapter 11, you all, you're going to see how I used my God-given creativity, but also I was obedient to my spirit guides and divine direction. Okay? So on that note, you all stay tuned for chapter 11 coming up soon. Chapter 11. Thank you all for watching this video. Have a great day. Be blessed and be a blessing.